Greetings. It's been a while since I've done a Gurdjieff show, so I thought, I've been doing some research and studying of my own fourth way studies as usual, as I hope you all guys are as well, and decided to do one on centres because some people got in touch quite a while ago. Actually, I was a bit lazy doing this one because it's such a big topic on centres and the three centres, which I discussed quite a bit. Your emotional, your bodily, physical, your intelligence center, intellect, and then you've got your higher centers up above. So I put together some Gurdjieff quotes, and then I found some more in another book as well. And I'm going to start with one from Life is Real Only Then When I Am. And he reminds us that all centers awake state. So when all these centers are awake, this is the state of being able in their waking state to think and feel on their own initiative. Because when our centers aren't awake, we're being all mechanical, being influenced by, as usual, the outer processes and the outer world and our, the people around us and what we're doing with our jobs, blah, blah, blah. But when we're got all our centers awake and in line and in tune and working harmoniously, then they work with the higher centers, which is more in tune with the whole progress of the harmonious flowing of the universe, which is what we're trying to get at. But he says in Meetings with Remarkable Men, not once did you decide for yourself or know how to work so that if only for a few months, the desire of your mind should become the desire of your heart. And we're meant to be doing this work with our heart, even though we've got all centers, we're trying to work on all centers. The mind can obviously come from the intellect, where the heart's coming from the emotional and from the love. And the world goes round with love. The cosmos is supposed to be working on love. And this is the compassionate love, not the sexual love or brotherly love. Well, it is brotherly love, but, the compassionate love of and unconditional love that makes us see everything and make us be impartial to everything, but with a unconditional, compassionate love that we can put out. There's a totally different feeling to how we just are in our normal everyday way of being. So working with just the mind, we're just being one-centered, working, with the heart only. Again, is only being one-centered. But if we can get the heart and mind to talk to each other, I used to do a lot of studying with people or working with people where we used to try and bring the heart up to the mind and sometimes bring our thoughts down to the mind so that our thoughts can feel that loving, unconditional love, obviously, influence. It's a different way of thinking, and trying to be centered in your heart is a much more calming and peaceful way of being, where our intellect, our mind can be easily jarred, easily prodded, easily, as Gurdjieff would say, people tread on our corns and we tread on other people's corns. And so by working with the heart, we are bringing a more loving and compassionate understanding to what we're doing and to everything that's going on around us. But he also says, let me go back to Life is Real Only Then When I Am. He says that as an exercise, he does once every 3 months, I was to bring myself into an all-centered, balanced state. So how does he do that? Well, he's obviously working on himself. It's something we should be working on. And he talks about how there flow simultaneously in man 3 kinds of associations of thought, feeling, and of mechanical instinct. There participate in all of them the results of the 3 sources found in man for the transformation of the 3 natures of so-called cosmic vivifyingness. And these sources are located in the part of the brain, in the part of the spinal column, in the part of the solar plexus. And we all know with our solar plexus, that can be easily irritated when we're emotionally attacked. I'm sure, when you split up with a loved one, you feel it all in the solar plexus, not in the heart. It's quite weird, isn't it? Your solar plexus is all over the place. Or if you're emotionally attacked, your solar plexus is all over the place. So that's kind of where your emotions are being held, when we should be working with them in our heart. And our spine, as Gurdjieff reminds us, is our nervous system. It is like an antennae. We've probably read about this. Many different other people talk about this as well. Our spine is our antennae, which is why, when we are meditating or praying or something, really we should be sitting upwards with a straight back so that we can connect with this, with the heavens and with the earth down below. We're that straight line. And I'm not a doctor. I don't understand what all the names are for what is up the spine, but you probably have felt that there's, in your spine, you can feel the tingling. If you do the I am exercise and you do the I into the solar plexus and the am through the spine, so that the spine is putting the energy, the good energy, all around your body. It's obviously attached to all your body. And then also in the brain, working away, the mind and the brain are not the same thing. The brain's like the computer and the mind's like the software. And I've said many times, the devil comes through the mind, divine comes through the heart. But our mind does play tricks on us and fools us quite a bit and deceives us with little, thoughts that suddenly pop into our heads, which I often think are, demonic forces coming in through our heads. So we need to get all three of them working together, but also working in I'm going to say a good way, a pure way, where they're not being deceived by other things. So, this is why we have to go and do all the calming exercises, the sit-ins, so that we can get to know our body and understand our body, feel our body, help us develop our Kesjan body. Please see my show with Josh on the Kesjan body. So we're trying to get all of them into a harmonious state so that they can waken up and we can live properly, a fully, as Gurdjieff says, become a real person, a real I. And he reminds us in Meetings with Remarkable Men, so I'm going to go back to Meetings with Remarkable Men now. So this is Gurdjieff. The word wolf symbolizes the whole of the fundamental and reflexive functioning of the human organism, and the word sheep, the whole of the functioning of a man's feeling. The functioning of a man's thinking is represented in the same by the man himself, a man who, in the process of his responsible life, has acquired in his common presence corresponding data for always being able to create conditions for a possible existence together of these two heterogeneous and mutually alien lives. Because in a way, our minds and our hearts and our body, they are different things in us, but they are us at the same time, And the wolf's barking away at us or prowling around. The sheep's being a little sheep eating its grass and just being fluffy. It's kind of like we want to put together the two of them, make the two of them actually lie down and work together. I did suddenly have a vision there of a half wolf, half sheep being. But really, we want them to work together. We don't want them to become like a chimera, half of each. We want them to walk the path together, walk through the field together, friendly. And he goes on to say in life is in Meetings with Remarkable Men, if one thinks about it without any of the preconceptions arising from the results of the idle thoughts usual to contemporary man, and we all have idle thoughts, and this is what we're trying to work upon, our idle thoughts. It is impossible not to admit with one's mind and agree with one's feelings that anyone calling himself a man must never be lazy, but constantly devising all sorts of compromises, must struggle with his self-avowed weaknesses in order to attain the aim he has set himself, to preserve intact these two independent animals confided to the care of his reason, and which are by their very essence opposite to each other. He's talking about the wolf and the sheep within us there. And this is in the first few pages of Meetings with Remarkable Men. And he goes on to say that later on, a couple of pages later, the present period of culture, the European civilization, is in the whole process of the perfecting of humanity and an empty and abortive interval, because we're all asleep. And this is because, in respect of the development of the mind, that chief impeller to self-perfection, the people of our civilization cannot transmit by inheritance anything of value to their descendants. And we all know that our teachers, whether it's our school teachers or just, our bosses or our families, because they're not awake, they're not teaching us how to be awake and how to properly develop ourselves. They're just teaching us another way of staying asleep, because they're all asleep. And many people that are asleep don't want us to wake up, because it shows to them that they could do it as well, but they're too lazy. They don't want that, because they're all comfortable in their sleepy, ways. So often you find resistance to doing this kind of work from people that are asleep. It doesn't mean you've got to ignore them kinds of people. We have to, integrate with them all the time. And this is why Gurdjieff brought this work to us, to show us how to survive in this lunatic asylum, as he calls it, of this planet, of this world. But it is difficult when people turn against you for what you're trying to do, for the resistance against you trying to wake up. They don't like it. They are often quite niggled by it. But I'm sure that's because it's just tapping at their own conscience. Their subconscious is seeing what's going on and is niggling at them, to their conscience, saying, wake up. But they don't want to. And in these trying times, for many of us, this has become even more apparent, very obvious. But we mustn't let it get to us. We mustn't let it ruin our work. We must still continue. You're watching this show because you want to do the Gurdjieff work, I'm assuming. It's only them kind of people that are watching these shows. So, I'm offering you encouragement, but you must encourage yourself as well, and learn how to deal with when these people do turn and be a bit shitty about it all. Anyway. Gurdjieff reminds us, among contemporary European people, only one of the three independent data necessary for obtaining a sane human mind is developed, namely their so-called thought, which tends to predominate in their individuality, whereas without feeling and instinct, as every man with a normal reason must know, the real understanding accessible to man cannot be formed. And I was saying earlier about how our thoughts also interrupt and interfere with our work. It's not just the outside people, it's our own minds can get in our way. There's a part of us that doesn't want to do this because it's being lazy, because it's hard work, but it's good work, it's worthwhile work, it's rewarding work. And it's normally coming from our mind, them kind of feelings. Our mind puts doubt in, our mind does say strange things to us that we listen to. And when them kind of doubts come in, that's when we've got to look at them and ourselves and think, why is that coming in? What's it trying to do? Why is it trying to deceive me? And bring the other eyes that want to do the work, get them up and get them working. So I'm going to go to all and everything. All and everything, page 163. In all my free being centres, namely in the free centres localised in the presence of every free centre being, and which exist under the names of thinking, feeling and moving centres, there began to be perceived separately and independently in each of them in a very strange and unusual way, very definite impressions. And it's these impressions we want to, that are the good ones that are helping us transform, we want to grab hold of and work with, not the ones that are saying, why are you doing this? Go and watch TV or whatever, doubting thoughts try and stop us doing. Because once you start working on yourself, there are eyes inside you that are encouraging you to continue it and do it. And sometimes I think it's coming from your thinking first, because it's telling you what to do, and then your other centres hopefully are starting to listen and starting to work with them and coming together. Because that's the difficult thing, getting all three centres to work together. And he reminds us on page 144, Let me just go to page 144. These localizations or brains in beings serve not only as apparatuses for the transformation of corresponding cosmic substances for the purpose of the most great common cosmic trogo, auto, ego, krat, but also as the means for beings whereby their conscious self-perfecting is possible. And that's what we're working at, self-perfecting. We want to become the best that we can be. We want to be, the perfect version of ourselves, which is all our eyes collected together, brought under deputy steward eye, so that the real I, the real being, the true I can come through and do the work. And we're doing this because we want to work for his endlessness, or God, as Gurdjieff calls him, his endlessness. We want to be part of this harmonious development of the whole universe. And to do that, we must have a harmonious development within ourselves, because otherwise we're working against God and the universe, against God, his endlessness, as Gurdjieff calls him. He's his endlessness. He goes on forever, he's eternity, but he needs us to work with him. He wants us to. Otherwise, if we're not working with him, it's upsetting for him. It causes him great sorrows. He's hoping that his creation wants to be with him, but he's given us this free will to do it for ourselves. If he came down and told us what to do, that becomes a dictatorship, and then he's a tyrant, and most of us would probably rebel against him because we don't like being told what to do. But if we're doing it because we want to, which all comes back to the desire and it coming from the heart, not from the mind. We're not just doing it because you want to have I don't know, maybe you think, if I do this work, I get to go to heaven or something. We've got to do it because we want to, we desire it, we want to be part of the workings of the universe and work for the divine. Not for selfish reasons. We're doing it so that we're part of the whole. Deep down, all of us have this hunger, this something missing in our lives, and everybody's got that. Sheep awakened, everybody, because that's that wanting to connect back with the divine. It's like a hole in us, and most people fill it with addictions and such like, as we all know. But if we can make the addiction our working on ourselves instead, then hopefully we will develop ourselves so that we can become self-perfected and be part of the divine's work. It all sounds a bit religious-y there, but I'm not talking religion as in organized religion. I'm talking about ancient wisdom and what us humans are here on this planet to do. Because as you work on yourself, many of you are probably thinking, well, what am I supposed to be doing? It'd be so easy just to tell you. But as you work on yourself and develop, the answers come to you. It's so easy just to be given it as a tidbit, but that's not part of the work. That's, again, being told what to do, where instead you've got to, I'm encouraging you to go and work on yourself so that you start getting the answers that you need. They will start coming. So also in all and everything, what did I say, 144. So continuing on page 145, free brain beings have the possibility personally to perfect themselves because in them are localized free centers of their common presences or free brains, upon which afterwards, when the process of Jatklon proceeds in the omnipresent Oppidano, the free holy forces of the sacred Triamasi Kamno are deposited and acquire the possibility for their further, this time, independent actualizings. So a few Gurdjieff's strange words there, but they're important words because they're explaining the process of what he's talking about, what we're doing to develop ourselves and become part of working with the divine. And as I was just saying, if you can work on yourself, the answers start coming. And he's saying here that you're working on yourself, the right energies will start coming towards you. His endlessness, his angels and part of the hierarchy, whatever, they can spot people that are developing themselves and they will send to them what they need. And he goes on to say, the beings having this free brain system can, by the conscious and intentional fulfilling of being part dog duty, utilize from this process of Jatklon in the omnipresent Okidanok, its free holy forces for their own presences and bring their presences to the Sekro Nulo Nanzanian state. That is to say, they can become such individuals as have their own sacred law of Triya Mazi Kamno, thereby the possibility of consciously taking in and coating in their common presence all that holy, which also aids the actualizing of the functioning in these cosmic units of objective or divine reason. Triya Mazi Kamno, law of free, so we're working on that. We want to feel them holy energies coming to us. We're on a holy mission. We're developing ourselves so that we can be part of the whole universe and continue with its workings, its cosmic processes. And that's holy work. If you're not doing it, you're being part of the other side's work. And as I was saying earlier, I'm sure you're watching this show because you want to develop yourself. So you want to do the holy work, I hope. And he goes on to say on the next page, 146, the said being brains are found in the parts of the planetary body of the free brain beings who arise on the planet Earth. The brain, determined by great nature for the concentration and further actualizing of the first holy force of the sacred Triya Mazi Kamno, called the Holy Affirming, is localized and found in the head. The second brain, which transforms and crystallizes the second holy force of the sacred Triya Mazi Kamno, namely the holy denying, is placed in their common presences along the whole of their back in what is called the spinal column. And I was just saying to you earlier about what the spinal column does. Number 3, the place of concentration and source for the further manifestation of the third holy force of the sacred Triya Mazi Kamno, namely the holy reconciling. This being brain is not localized in one common mass, but in parts each localized in a different place of their whole planetary body. Nevertheless, all of its separate functionings are correspondingly connected with each other. They call these separate localizations nerve nodes. Most of the separate parts of this being brain are localized in the region of their breasts. They call this totality the solar plexus. Well, I was saying it was down here. I'm pretty sure it is down here under your breast, but though I'm pretty sure Gurdjieff said that in olden times, or was it Steiner, the heart used to be in the center of our chest. Because of some cosmic calamity and downfall of humanity, it moved over to the left. So with them kind of exercises put forward to you, maybe it's something you can go and work upon. And I'm going to leave this section here with this because it's quite a lot to think about there, and I will do more on centers another time. So thank you for watching. Keep centered, keep in peace, and let us do the holy work. Thank you.